Hello everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the 25th of March for our daily drawing practice together. It's so nice to be here with you. I have just spent the past 2 hours drawing with friends in Zoom, and every Tuesday I host these Zoom events where we get together and we draw each other for 2 hours, and it is so good. And I invite you all to come and draw with us. You don't have to be there for the entire 2 hours. You can come and go when you please, really. If you can be there for the whole 2 hours, it's amazing. But it's so much fun and it's such good practice. I will show you some of my sketches. And also, let me introduce Greta Thunberg, who we're going to draw today from a reference photo taken by Misan Harriman. Who is here in the live chat? I would like to know. I see there are 9 of you, and please say hello in the chat. Please ask questions and say things. It would be great to hear from you. Kiki is here. Maki Danielle is here. Bonsoir, tout le monde. Bonsoir, Danielle. So nice to have you here. Let us draw together, shall we? I have turned the page and will be working in ink. Hello, Maya. Nice to see you. Stephanie Stevens, hi, welcome. So I've turned the page. I'm on my ink spread, this black and white photo. I'm really looking forward to working with ink here. Oliver is here. Lisbeth is here. So nice to have you here. Let's draw together. Just for the sake of it, I said I will show you some of the drawings I've just been doing. This is the thing I like to do on Tuesdays, because I always come fresh from my Zoom session to here. What is going on? The contrast never looks right, but we can kind of see what's going on here, can't we? Here we go. This was, I'll just show you a bit more here. This is Connie with a giant butterfly, and Patricia with scissors for glasses, Chris and a little raccoon. Maria Luisa had this stone egg third eye thing going on. Lydia. Hi Lucas, nice to see your name. I hope you're all doing well. So these are the quicker poses. These are 30-second quick sketches, and then 1 minute, and then it goes up to 2 minutes, and then 4 minutes and 6 minutes. And this is what I do this one was super cool. Hans. Oh man, what you see looks nothing like what I can see. The contrast is like way off. I don't understand why. What? But yeah, it's fun. It's so much fun. Every Tuesday, everyone is welcome to come and draw with us. It's great. So the contrast was off with the pencil, but I think now, working with ink, the contrast will be on, because just the ink is really clear. Let's draw, shall we? Hola, Luis. So my parallel pen has this much ink left in it. We'll see how we go. I have some other pens in reserve, calligraphy pens. So we can't see so well here, but here's, you can tag myself, Greta and Misan on Instagram, should you feel so inclined. And let's go. So shadow shapes is still the theme this month, and this hood is a really cool frame. The shape. I'll put because I just finished doing some 6-minute portraits. I'll put a 6-minute timer on and probably spend longer, but just to keep the rhythm going with what I've been doing. I feel like having a timer on helps me just commit, just do things. And often I'm surprised by what I get done in a short space of time when there's a timer on. And if I just leave it, then often my drawings and the process kind of expands to fill the undefined time slot. And then sometimes I can find after 40 minutes that I feel like I'm just drifting around a drawing. And if I just get right into it, that I get more done. And of course, it's been over 5 years now, 5 years of Tuesday, every Tuesday, hanging out and drawing with people. And each Tuesday is about 26 portrait sketches. So that's a lot of portrait sketches, timed portrait sketches. And it's been a very cool 5 years and about 7,000 timed portrait sketches that I've done in that context. And it's just something everyone is invited to, and it's fun, and we talk about random things and share stories with each other, spend time together, practicing together. Jean, do you first need to learn the solids to do the face, or can you learn it by a line? Welcome, Jean. Hi. How much time do you do by a sketch? Lucas loves Greta. She is great. She is great. She's so good. And I'm happy to be drawing her. I think you can learn by line. I think it can also be incredibly helpful. It's good to have like an understanding of the proportions, like what's going on. It's nice to know those things. And if you want to draw from imagination, it's really, really helpful to have that understanding. But if you're drawing from observation, I think that you can really draw and learn by looking attentively. So I think just by really looking at a thing, if you're into observational drawing, like there are reasons to internalize the understanding of the proportions and everything. And it's also just, it's really rewarding to learn these things and understand, and you start to like gain insight into why things look the way they look, why the light is behaving a certain way on certain parts of the face. So this is really, I'm not sure how I'm going with my proportions here, but really interesting here is like understanding this shadow shape, which is below the eyebrow and coming down the side of the nose, and there's this great like highlight shape here, which is on both sides surrounded by this cool shadow. And understanding why it's doing that, how you have like where the light hits and the structure of the face, like why does the light behave in a certain way. It's a very, I think you can probably figure it out by looking at it, but having like a real understanding of the skull and the way solid forms work is super helpful. And it can just be fun to like get into. And I've had phases of like really getting into anatomy, and it's rewarding to develop that kind of understanding. But if you're drawing from observation, you don't have to. Like, I feel like sometimes when I'm just really looking at trying to understand things in terms of just the abstract interaction of shapes, that sometimes I can get really get results that I'm really happy with. And it's tricky in this one. I think Now that I'm this far into it, I'm thinking, oh, it would have been interesting to start with the shadow shapes rather than putting in the head shape first to find my way around. There are a lot of subtle like value variations in the portrait here, which could really help to put things in the right place. Oh, that's 6 minutes already. That's wild. Time is such a flexible thing. I'm just going to put that timer on again for the next 6 minutes and see what happens. So I was working the past 2 hours with pencil, and switching to this pen is definitely different, but I'm happy to work with it. I like it a lot. It's interesting. It's very different to draw a face that has just such a clear complexion where there's not so much to draw, and these different value shapes. Actually, if I'd gone into it a bit more carefully and kind of planned and looked at the different shapes, I think it would be a really helpful way to kind of get things in the right place. Greta el Manguas. I'm not sure what that means. Can someone translate for me? So, how good's Greta? Pretty amazing. I've been having conversations recently about art and activism, and wondering, like, in the face of the mind-blowing terrible stuff that's happening, and there's been a lot of terrible stuff happening for a long time, and that being active rather than just passively absorbing the horrors that our news feeds have to offer us, but to do something, to take whatever comes up in you, whether it is the fear, the anger, and take that as fuel to direct it towards working towards a positive change. I think I wonder how it is for everyone else, but I had a few conversations with a few people where we've been like, particularly the last year and a half, have been like, oh, it's been so hard with the just like blatant disregard of life, and that it's cool to see when people are just totally driven to speaking up and just being like, hey, this is not cool, this is not right, this is no good, and it needs to be different. And it's interesting considering that a lot of us dedicate a lot of time to drawing and to painting, and it's like, what is it that what can we do with the skills that we are working on and acquiring, and I know that it's an interesting question. If anyone has anything to say to contribute to this conversation, how do you feel that you can like what can we do? What do we contribute? I have a friend who once said that just making art is a political act, regardless of what the subject matter is. And I was talking with someone today in a mentorship call about a piece that I did once, where I had this phase where I was just being so dragged down by the news, and this was years ago when Tony Abbott was the villainous Prime Minister of Australia, and it was just like bad thing after bad thing. It was like, how can all these, like, and a lot of it, I remember there was a lot of like just really environmentally like disregarding life, destructive stuff happening, and it was like, how can the so-called leadership of the world be making these decisions which just cause so much suffering and so much damage? And and like, what is the way, how to not feel isolated and overwhelmed? And I think community is a very important aspect of that, to realize that so many people see clearly that it's not cool. And we have this beautiful planet that we get to live on, and we should take care of it. And that's in so many ways. War is also environmental catastrophe. That's terrible for humans and terrible for non-human life forms as well. So if we want to keep enjoying this incredible planet we have, then it's good to take a clear stance and say none of this is okay. And it's it's been inspiring over the years to see what Greta Thunberg has been doing in that regard, just speaking super clear, and it's great. Jean likes caricatures. It means Greta is stressing him out. Manguas. Do you think art has to assemble people? What do you mean by assemble? Put people together or bring people together? Unite. Does it? It does not have to unite people. Art can be so many things. It does not have to unite people. Also in this conversation today, we were talking about how art can be cathartic as well. Like it can, there's like sometimes just to get something out. Like I did this painting of the former prime minister, this villainous character, and it was just like there was so much rage in me. I was just like, I wanna paint it, and I did this painting, and for my development at that time, I was like, oh, this is a pretty good painting, and it's like, but what am I choosing to focus on by like painting this terrible person? And I had him like, I had a red underpainting and just like red eyes and just the land mass of Australia floating within his hands, and everything was on fire, and it was important for me to get that out, and hardly anyone has seen it, and I don't think it united anyone. It may unite people in their kind of rage. But then it's the question of like, what is it that we, what do we choose to focus on, and is it constructive? Like it's important to be angry and to realize, what's not okay. But then that was my question at that time after finishing that piece. I was just like, wow, so angry, and I had to do this portrait in the way I did it at the time. Then afterwards, I was like, this is not the kind of thing I want to be doing. So it didn't feel like it was uniting. It was more like potentially divisive, and I think art can be very divisive as well. But I feel like what I put my attention towards, I would like to contribute to a sense of unity and understanding, and a thriving and flourishing of peoples and life. And just understanding and appreciation and respect. So that's something that has, after doing that, where I was really like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just like drawing lots of things, and I'd be like doing zombie paintings and all sorts of stuff. And I met a wonderful artist once, and he was like, oh, it's interesting. And why are you choosing to do this? Like, that was 12 minutes, by the way. And now I'm going to add some water to this. I don't think it looks a lot like Greta. There's some proportion things off, but there's a lot going on that I like about it. So it's okay. Stephanie says, thanks for sharing that video from Moleskine. Yeah, it was good, right? For me, drawing face is a way to connect to the utter beauty of humanity while surviving the hate unfolding. I draw the invisible as a way to resist. Your drawing group has been a beautiful respite. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm glad you feel that. Jean, are you guys from Europe? I live in Germany. Well, I grew up in so-called Australia, and when I was 21, I left, and I'm almost 42. So I've spent half of my life in Europe. Interesting. I live in Germany now. I have lived in Belgium and the Netherlands and England. I spent some time in hitchhiking through France. Where is everyone? Let us know in the chat. Where are you? And I just saw, if you're on the Discord server, Adam made in the general chat and art share conversation channel, he made a thread asking where people are from. So if you are on the Discord server, you could find that. I just saw it today, but apparently the thread is 3 days old. Because it's interesting to know where people are joining from. Jean, you live in Belgium. Where do you live? I lived in Tienen, for a while. And I lived in Brussels for a while, Bruxelles. And I had to leave. I was looking for work and my French is not very good. Bruxelles. Nice. I lived in Ixelles for a little while. A friend gave me her flat while she was gone, and I was traveling a lot, and she was like, "Oh, you could live in my flat while I'm gone," and it was a very cool time. I really enjoyed being in Brussels. Where are Danielle and Isidore from? What a username. What do you think about Da Vinci art? He used his art in a deeper meaning of life itself. Didn't Da Vinci just drew everything? It was like drawing these ideas of things that didn't exist, and it was just like a way of exploring possibilities of the world, right? So his anatomical and portraiture stuff, it was like I imagine it's like painting as a way of understanding. It was interesting earlier in the conversation, is it important to understand the structural solids of the face, or can we just learn by drawing lines? And I think Da Vinci was one of those people I imagine was just kind of into everything, and used drawing as a way to articulate and explore all of these different ideas. Pretty amazing. What do you think about Da Vinci? What a username. What else are people saying? Would I recommend aquarelle to someone starting painting? It looks kind of hard to control. Aquarelle, watercolor, is... I started painting with it because I thought it's small and it's easy to take with me, because I was traveling and stuff. So I bought some of my first watercolor paints actually in Belgium, and I thought I would travel with them, and then one day someone told me it's really hard, and it is hard to control, but it is wonderful. I enjoy watercolor, aquarelle a lot. And I think ink is really good. The permanence of ink, like I'm working with ink at the moment, and it is a really good teacher, and it can be also be hard because it's so it's so permanent. You put it down and it's there, and you've got to live with your decisions and your life choices. But I feel like it's a very good teacher because you, after I don't know how many very uncomfortable drawings, you start to develop that control and restraint sometimes, that really helps watercolor. So I found I started with watercolor, it was tricky, and then I just was doing pencil and then ink for a long time. And after getting comfortable with ink, I felt like when I returned to watercolor that I had a different way of had developed a way of being comfortable with my mark making. And it's still a journey, like every medium that you're getting into. It's going to have its own interesting way to learn how to be with it, how to use it. Kiki is jetting off. Excel is full of artists, that's cool. Lisbeth was in Etterbeek. Oh, nice. Unrelated, but is it true Belgians use oats to make beer? I think Belgians are allowed to use anything and call it beer. They don't have the Deutsche Reinheitsgebot, so there are over 1,000 different types of beer. It was very interesting. Yes, near the big park, Bois de Com. Is that it? I like the big park a lot. Sean says Belgians have the best beers in the world. Lucas, as a Bavarian, has to disagree. So Lucas it's the purity, the Reinheitsgebot. This is very interesting because that is not a Belgian concept. I think there probably are beers that kind of stick to the criteria of the Reinheitsgebot, but the beer is exciting in its variation in Belgium, and there are places where you can go that have there was this one place in Brussels that had 1,000 different beers, all Belgian beers. So Belgians are right into experimenting with the beer. So you're allowed to do things in Belgium with beer that you're not allowed to in Germany. What was it? La Chouffe. I visited Chimay. I had a friend whose grandparents lived in the village where the monastery is, where the Trappist monks made the beer. So we went there, and that was really a wonderful visit. There's a lot of beautiful places, and the history of these places, like these monks who would just hang out making living a life of service and worship, I imagine, and hanging out and making really good beer and cheese. It's an interesting spiritual path. I like a lot of what's happening in this. At some point I was like, nah, it's a bit off, but it was interesting adding all the value, like the subtlety in there has really kind of changed things. I think there's maybe something that's a bit long. I wonder if I can lower the forehead a bit just by taking a bit off like this, and maybe that's going to change. If you've done something too big, too wide, too long with ink, you can come back into it, but it's very difficult to go in the other direction. You can't expand something once the marks are down. So Germans are close though. Lisbeth says, we used to go to a bar called De Grote Ongenug in Antwerp, famous for having the most beers of any bar pub in the world, allegedly. I think it's long closed down though. Jean, you've never been to Antwerp. Antwerp is cool. Antwerp was good to me. I've been there a few times and had very wonderful experiences there. Chimay is bitter. 1 degree. La Chouffe is cherry or blonde. The IPAs are trendy now. It might be Het Grote Ongenogen. My Flemish is very rusty. My Flemish is also rusty. Petra, hi from Sweden. Thank you, Petra. Yeah, putting value, the color, the ink into, really transformed it. Like without the tonal value in the portrait, I was feeling a bit like, well, I don't know about this, but it's interesting once you start to add some value. Oh, my timer's like stopped counting a long time ago now. But once, yeah, you have that variation, the tonal variation in the value of the ink in this case, it becomes very different, and it gives that more sculptural kind of three-dimensional form to a thing, which is cool. Is everyone here on the Discord server? There's a Discord server where I share the references and people share their work. And I would love you to join. We are now over 300 members in the Discord server, which is so cool. I'm really happy to have so many people there. I love when people are sharing their work there, and there are interesting questions being asked. I've been preoccupied with other things recently, but it's been nice to see that there's a life. It's taking on a life of itself, where people are asking questions and responding to each other, because I would love it. To just be a supportive, creative place that people can go to share their work and ask questions. And I see people have been posting in the feedback and loving critique thread, and I will get around to responding, but I would also encourage other people to interact, to share there. And also if you see something in people's work and you feel like you have something to say, to respond to in a supportive manner, then you're encouraged to participate and join the conversation. The link to the Discord server is in the description of this video. And if you're watching the replay and it's no longer a valid link, then just let me know and I will send you a new link. All right, I feel like pretty close to this being finished. And I'm going to show you a Procreate portrait, because on the 5th of April, I'm going to be teaching a Procreate workshop, and I would love those of you who are interested to join. And so until then, I'm going to show a Procreate portrait from back in the day, each day at the end of a live stream. So I feel like adding that value to the hood was really cool. It really made the face glow a lot. And that's the thing of like getting the value set up right. Like to have the brightest brights here, so the focus is here. If we darken the background, then it would even more make that portrait kind of radiant, which is interesting. But I think I'm just going to leave it as is. Where's the Discord server? Good question. It is, I will give you the link. Never mind. And here it is anyway. So yeah, it's in the chat. It's also in the description, so you can check that out. Here is my portrait of Greta Thunberg. If you're posting on Instagram, I would love you to tag me. If you post your stories, I'm happy to reshare to my stories. Always like seeing what people are doing while we're drawing along together. And now I'll show you a Procreate portrait from my Procreate era. Maybe, I think I looked at that one recently. Maybe this one. Here we go. So if you're interested in joining my Procreate workshop, it's going to be on the 5th of April. And there's a link to get tickets in the description. If you go to my website, you'll also find information about my my mentorship there, if anyone's interested in joining the mentorship. Lucas, thank you very much for putting your drawing hand emoji in the chat. If you have made it this far in the video, if you're in the live chat or if you're watching the replay, you can put a drawing hand emoji in the chat. And I know you've made it all the way through. Thank you so much. What? That's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, so here, it was interesting because it was actually last week in a mentorship call that I was having, and someone was using Procreate and asking some stuff about Procreate. And then I was like, it's interesting if you're talking about shapes and shadow shapes, if you look at it like this, everything I've done here is all just made of shapes. There is no line. It's all shapes. Even here, it's a shape selection tool. So this eye is made of shapes, and so there's this like a little bit of variation, but it's quite limited and quite a simple way of expressing these shapes and forms. So this is the way that I like to use Procreate, and that is what the workshop is going to be about shapes in Procreate, how to go about building up a portrait. And I look at the hair, that's pretty cool. Like the highlights, there's no hairs drawn into this hair, it's just shapes, it's all shapes. And so it was interesting, going back to your question, Jean, about do you have to draw a line? You can also just do shapes if you want. I feel like this way of understanding shapes is a really interesting way of looking at an image and building an image, which then it gives the sense when it's finished of being, of like, it's obviously a person, but it's just made up of so many random shapes. This is what I love about Procreate. And look, I can take out, boom, wow, that's the, can you see that? Like down here, that's the skin shape. So there's just this big shape underneath, and then I put all these other shapes on top of it. And just by taking that out, I love this kind of transformation thing. Look at that. So without the underlying skin shape, you see all these other shapes that have been layered up on top. And that is making this. Isn't that cool? So much fun. I haven't drawn one of these for a long time, but it's a method of working that I really enjoy. So that was today's Procreate portrait for you, if you're interested. There's also, I know Procreate's only on Apple devices, but there's the Sketchbook app. There are some other apps. You just need to have a freehand selection tool to be able to work like this. And I'll just, how did I do it last time? I just grab if I do this, go over here. This is the way I use it. So over here is the selection tool. Down here, it says freehand selection. And I can go in here and draw a shape and drop that in and make it transparent. Maybe, oh, here we go, a multiply layer. That's nice. And then once you've got that shape, you can do what you want with it. Yeah, and that's it. You just draw shapes and fill them with color, change the transparency, and eventually you have a portrait that looks like that, just totally made up of shapes. Isn't that fun? Is it like Illustrator? Kind of. I feel like this, for doing this, I feel like this is easier and more intuitive than Illustrator. I have done vector illustration with Illustrator, but there's a very, I feel like a very natural flow to working like this in Procreate. Yeah, so that's the Procreate Portrait of the Day. And here is Greta Thunberg. Thank you so much for living your life of conscience and clearly speaking up for the preservation of life, non-human and human. Like, it's all, what a great planet we have, and wouldn't it be good if everyone got to enjoy it for a lot longer. Yes, Lucas, Illustrator is vector-based, correct. And there are cool things you can do with Illustrator, but Procreate is a bit different. Okay, thanks everyone. Drawing hand emoji in the chat, and we'll be back here tomorrow. Thank you for being here. Nice to meet you, Jean. Anyone else?